We are back with 428 Shibuya Scramble, and things are really coming to a head. Achi has made it to Endo's place, which is kind of his own place, and there's going to be a confrontation. Kano and Kanan have made it to Endo's place, and there's going to be a confrontation. Minorikawa has not done much, he got to keep out, but he's going to need to meet Toyama to really blow this case wide open. And Ozawa, well, we need to play as Ozawa, so let's go. The rain won't let up. The sound is growing louder and louder inside my head. It is the sound of regret, spattering against my heart. My emotions surge like a terrible storm within me. I never wished for this. You'd probably get along well with Adam Jensen. He never asked for this. Never expected my heart to be dragged so far beyond my control. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. It's doing the crazy text too. It's gonna repeat that a bunch. The words stormed through Osawa's mind in a relentless cacophony. He'd called up images of the bodies from the human testing trials on his computer monitor. He couldn't help but imagine his daughter in the same gruesome state. In just a few more hours, Maria would begin hemorrhaging blood and die, just like the people in the pictures had. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. He couldn't shake the words or the reality from his mind. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Ozawa began pounding his fists fiercely on the desktop. Sir, what are you doing? Kajiwara tried to intervene, but he kept on pounding away. When he finally ceased, the pain of the repeated impacts lingered in his hands. Hello there, Danny. My research was never about any sincere desire to help people, and now I'm paying the price for that. The one time it finally matters, I can't even save my own daughter. Mr. Ozawa. Kajiwara set a hand on his shoulder. You can always blame yourself later, but for now, think again. Good and hard. Is there really no other way to save Maria? Nothing else we could try? Ozawa shook his head. The only means we had left was using Tanaka's password to unlock the doors. And now Tanaka is dead. There's no other way. Is there a possibility that Mr. Tanaka told someone else's password? This was something Ozawa hadn't considered. Was there anyone Tanaka might have shared his password with? Only one person came to mind. Well, yes. There may be someone. Hello there, Diego. You're referring to Ai, sir. Kajiwara cast his eyes down. You figured that out, then? Yes. Back during the commotion over that listening device, a necktie clip isn't typically the sort of present one gives to one's husband's co-worker. Hello there, insane buffoon. And yet, although some might consider it somewhat, inappropriate, Mr. Tanaka was wearing it as if it were a matter of course. Which, implies something about their relationship. Kajiwara's voice trailed off. He coughed apologetically and tried again. I realize it's an awkward situation, sir, but please check with your wife. Even if I doesn't happen to know the password, that does us no good if Maria gets quarantined someplace we can't reach her. I understand, Mr. Ozawa. I'll bring Maria to you, then. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. Yes! Far more bananas! Where do you keep those? I know it says from his pocket, but I call BS. The detective then produced a bunch of bananas from his pocket. These are all left over. You are more than welcome to them, sir. Despite his gentle smile, the rest of his face was firm with resolve. You said you didn't care whether other people understood you, didn't you, Mr. Ozawa? Ozawa nodded guardedly. At the risk of being presumptuous, sir, I understand you, Kajiwara said. I used to be quite the workaholic myself. You're just like me. Innocent and awkward. On another occasion, it's a comma. Kajiwara was shocked to run into a man who looked just like him. The fellow was a stylist at a hair salon Kajiwara visits on occasion. He let out a gasp of surprise of his own upon seeing the detective. Kajiwara felt a peculiar connection and was expecting to go to the salon regularly, but when the stylist asked what he did for a living and Kajiwara answered honestly that he was a detective, the other man's face went pale, and he bolted out of the building. Kajiwara never saw the man again after that. Yo, that's creepy. Hello there, Ichigo Berry. So, was this like... What was that about? Was this guy posing as Kajiwara? Was this a weird coincidence? What the hell was that all about? Calling yourself innocent, huh? How modest of you. Ozawa let out a sardonic chuckle, and after a moment, Kajiwara joined in. The next time I see you, Mr. Ozawa, I'll have Maria with me. The detective gave a slight bow, then left the study, a look of determination on his face. Ozawa watched him go with admiration. No matter what trouble arose, the man always looked for something he could do. He really was a fellow who knew how to hang tough. Compared to that... Ozawa couldn't even articulate his own self-disgust. And asking Ai about the password would also mean inquiring into her relationship with Tanaka. The prospect was daunting. Venturing into the emotional territory of another person was his weakest suit. Really? Mine's clubs. He left his study, but somehow found himself making his way to Maria's room, not Ai's. He realized that he hadn't been into his daughter's room since a certain rainy day, years before. Now he stepped quietly inside and saw Maria's world laid out before him. A small photo was set atop her neat and tidy desk. It was a close-up of someone's hands doing a cat's cradle. Whose hands were they? From the skin tone, they didn't appear to be Maria's. Several more photographs were pinned to a corkboard that hung on the wall. They were snapshots of people and townscapes from the Middle East. One glance at them and Ozawa felt like he was back there for a moment. The images weren't necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but they all looked like they'd been taken by a professional. When he spotted the last photo on the corkboard, however, he was certain that Maria had taken them all. There we go. The last picture was of Ozawa himself. He was facing the camera, holding some luggage and flashing an awkward smile. It was a comical, affectionate image. Nico squared? Whoa! He'd never known that photography was one of his daughter's hobbies. Would she sneak in all those cameras? No, this went beyond a mere hobby. Did she perhaps aspire to be a professional photographer one day? She certainly had the aptitude for it, from the look of things. Maria, a photographer. As he mulled the idea over, Ozawa felt his chest tighten. Right now, it looked like Maria's hopes and dreams were about to be snuffed out. Her future consisted of bleeding to death a few short hours from now. Ozawa stared vacantly out the window. The view from Maria's room remained unchanged from so long ago. Again, that rainy day crept back into his mind, as vivid as the present. Hello there, Jim. On that day, Ozawa was dealing with some pressing business from work. He'd ensconced himself in his study, wrestling with some paperwork, when Hitomi barged in, looking distraught. Maria's gone. Oh, is this when she ran away? Sensing that Hitomi was legitimately alarmed, Ozawa hurried to Maria's room. He found a letter she left atop her writing desk, which was remarkably like a raven, but I won't explain how. Dad, you only care about Hitomi. You're always working and never do anything with me, so I'm running away. Dragon Ace, how oblivious do you have to be to not know Maria likes photography? This guy doesn't know how to work a damn microwave, so I wouldn't put anything past him. A few hours earlier, he'd canceled their weekend trip to the amusement park. He just wasn't going to be able to get his work done in time. Hitomi had resigned herself readily enough, but Maria just couldn't accept it. Hello there, Dracologist. She'd been looking forward to it for so long, she railed at him. How many times now had he broken one of his promises to her? Yeah, Fakafan, ensconced is a word I never saw. That is an uncommon one. Hitomi understands why we can't go, so why can't you do the same? The cold rebuke had ended her complaining, but it was clear she still didn't accept the situation. Whoa, color in Ozawa's story? Now Hitomi helped him look around, but they found nothing missing from Maria's room. Despite her assertion that she was running away, then it seemed like there was no point in being overly concerned. Maybe she's at the park she always goes to. Hitomi looked worried. The park was roughly a 25-minute walk from the house. Damn. It would only take about an hour for Ozawa to go get her and bring her home. But an hour was more than he could afford to spare right now. Dad, I think she's waiting for you to go after her. Ozawa didn't need Hitomi to tell him that. He knew it well enough. That was what galled him so much about the situation. Why did she have to pull something like this precisely when his work was at his busiest? He'd done everything he could as a father since his wife had passed away. Why couldn't his daughter see that? It's alright. Your sister will come back. The rain was coming down pretty hard outside the window. Do you think she brought an umbrella? Hitomi asked anxiously. Hello there, Meowington. I don't know, but with the rain like this, she'll come back home soon enough. He spoke the words for himself as much as for Hitomi. Then he headed back to his study and got back to work. Damn, that is cold as ice. Hey there, Michael. But several hours went by and still Maria did not return. The rain had gotten even more intense, to the point where Ozawa could hear it in his study. He was so concerned about his missing girl that he couldn't focus on his work, but he stubbornly refused to give in and go search for her. Several more hours passed. At last, Maria appeared at the front door, soaking wet. Ozawa met her silently in the entryway. Wet strands of hair clung to the girl's forehead as she looked up at her father with a bitter glare. You don't care what happens to me, do you? Yeah, that was the slap. Immediately, Ozawa smacked her across the cheek with the flat of his hand. It was the first time in his life he'd ever struck anyone. He hadn't known such a violent impulse could exist inside him. Maria stood there, her hand pressed to her cheek. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she began to tremble. On her lip was a small bead of blood. Jeez, Ozawa. A flood of guilt and regret rose up inside Ozawa as if he just shattered some intricate piece of glasswork. How could I do such a thing? He clenched his shameful hand into a fist, and in that moment, he was afraid of Maria, afraid that his daughter could bring such raw emotion out of him and make him do something so thoughtless. But even more, he was afraid of how stunted he was as a human being. Was someone like him really fit to be a parent? What kind of future could Maria and Hitomi hope for with a father like him? That was why he'd married Ai, as Makino had proposed. Having a mother, he decided, would help keep his family together despite their sad excuse for a father. Too bad their mother hates them, so that didn't work. But in so doing, Ozawa had dug a psychological ditch between himself and his daughters. That's true, now he could hide behind the mother all the time and, like, live in his own bubble, which is exactly what happened. A deep ditch so that he could keep his daughters from being hurt, so that he wouldn't hurt himself. Now Ozawa was staring across that ditch, wondering if it was too wide to leap. He thought back to his earlier exchange with Kajiwara. If you get angry, you show it. If you get sad, you show it. It's human nature to let other people know how we're feeling, after all. Hello there, Hawk Zombie. But what if doing that hurts the other person? That's when you apologize, sir. Yes, that was right. He needed to apologize to Maria for what he'd done that day. It still wasn't too late. Yeah, Winterburn, how did Ozawa, a man who doesn't understand humans, get married twice? God knows how he got married the first time, but the second marriage was pretty much political. I mean, his boss proposed it. It's never too late. Ayakamaki, yes. When it comes to family, there's no such thing as game over. He recalls Pretty Honey's words. Yes, grizzled old man. He needed to apologize to Maria, and so he needed to ask Ai for that password. Oh, get out of here, insane buffoon. Why are chefs so cruel? Because they beat eggs and whipped cream. Oh, yeah! Ozawa was going to have to face his wife. The true final boss of real life, I guess. They say there's no game over, but I might be Alphard, so keep out. So I forgot, who had a bounce to Ozawa? Was it Minorikawa? Yes, it was. Minorikawa called Ozawa. What did they say? I don't freaking know. We're playing as Ozawa now. Boom! We're in. Osawa's phone rang and Minorikawa's phone number popped up on the LCD display. On the liquid crystal display. Thanks, game. Excuse me, I'm gonna go get some money from the automatic teller machine. Oi. The reporter must have finished looking into the matter Ozawa had asked about. And while he was doing that, I was reading Detective Comics. Mr. Ozawa, sorry to keep you waiting. How did it go? Well, I looked into the background of that story you asked about, and I learned who it was your wife was dating. Who was it? Ozawa asked immediately. There was a brief pause. Mamoru Tanaka. Yeah, confirmed. And yeah, Dracologist still needs more pleasure of tension. No kidding. I see. Finally, he had proof positive of a relationship between Ai and Tanaka. Now more than ever, it was no time to waver. No matter how painful the reality was, it was also true that if they hadn't been dating, there would probably be no way of saving Maria. So, Minorikawa said, what was this big thing about disrupting the power balance of the world all about? There's something I need to take care of on my end first. Once I'm finished, I'll tell you everything. Yeah, that's fine. Things are pretty hectic on my end right now anyway. Ozawa had expected Minorikawa to put up more of a fight. But yeah, things are really hectic on Minorikawa's end, so fair enough. He'd figured a reporter for 4-star General Gossip would be a bit more persistent. Oh, by the way, there was one other thing I wanted to tell you, Mr. Ozawa. Ozawa could practically sense the finger pointing his way from the other end of the line. Yeah, really. Don't be too angry with your wife. All too often in this world, people let their anger get in the way of solving their problems. You may have a point. Ozawa let out a wry chuckle. Alright then. I'll call you back later. Ozawa found Ai standing by herself in the yard. She kept her back to him as he approached. Moody! May I have a moment? He asked quietly. What? Still, she didn't bother to turn around. There's something important I need to talk to you about. I'm not in the mood right now. Please, Ai. I realize you're upset about Tanaka's death, but at the mention of Tanaka's name, Ai slowly shook her head. Don't. Just tell me what you want. Hurry up and get to the point. Ozawa tried to move closer to her, but that large plant in the middle of the frame... but she pointedly kept her distance. This was no time to mince words. Did Tanaka give you his password? There was something Ozawa needed to hear for himself before this went any further. Were you in love with Tanaka? Interesting. On one hand, we don't have time. A. On the other hand, this might segue into it. B. Chat, what should we choose? No time to mince words? What's the password? Or we needed to hear it for ourselves. We suspected it from Kajiwara, we confirmed it with Minorikawa, but just hear I say it? So A or B, ladies and gentlemen? How is this going to go down? We have one vote for A. Do we have anything else? 2 for A. 1 for B. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? 3 for A, but 2 for B. 4 for A. This is somewhat divided. B, let's get soap opera in here. 3 for B, but 5 for A. There's a split of 2 this whole time. It's looking like we're going for A. Let's go. This was no time to mince words. Did Tanaka give you his password? His password? For the electronic lock on the lab. I need it in order to get the antiviral out. I turned to face him at last. To get it out? What are you thinking? That belongs to the company. I just need 1 dose to save Maria. Have a good night, Fakafan. If you know, please tell me. I don't know it. Ai's voice was barely a whisper. Ozawa looked his wife right in the eye. You're telling the truth. I am. I see. Then, do you have any idea what number he might have used for a password? Hello there, Shade Yoshi. Ai shook her head silently, then turned her back to her husband once more. Jeez, both of these people are so cold. Even if I did know, she said, I wouldn't tell you. God damn, dude. Why not? Don't you get it? Ai's words came out as a strangled rasp. Do you even know why I'm with you? She snapped. You really have no idea how much you're worth, do you? The value of one woman's life versus the potential profits your research would bring in? There's no comparing the two. If it meant that Okoshi Pharmaceutical could monopolize your talents, then what did it even matter what I wanted for myself? There was something akin to desperation in Ai's words. And so you sent me those threatening emails too? What? I looked at him in shock. He knew he'd guessed correctly. You would go that far, just to keep me tied to your father's business? That's right. I would. I bit down on her lip hard. Wow, so I really was the letter A who sent him the grisly photos in the beginning of the game. Which is interesting then, actually, because remember way early in the game, we had a choice of whether to show, or like to close our laptop so I wouldn't see when she came in, or leave it open. This was something, like, it didn't exactly raise my suspicion against Ai, but I did think it was kind of weird when the chat chose to leave the laptop open, and she didn't acknowledge it at all, even though it must have been within eyesight. My assumption was that she'd seen stuff like that before from the nature of his job, but I guess not. She's the one who sent it. So that's some clever foreshadowing. But what would you even know about how I feel? I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I'm not the victim here. You say that, but isn't it because of me that you and Tanaka weren't able to stay together? I began to tremble. Her secret was out. When did you figure it out, she asked. Earlier today. That tie clip. Right. Not the sort of gift one gives to a husband's coworker, is it? Ai's smile was bitter with self-deprecation. Ozawa couldn't help pity her. Even Tanaka must have suspected that she placed the company's profit above all else, if she'd go to such lengths to protect it. So, not sure if Alphard then? Maybe not. It was like she'd given up her entire life just for that. Please, don't mess my life up any more than you already have. Oh my god, that's rough. Ai's words were only a faint murmur, but Ozawa felt the rejection they carried with agonizing clarity. Tanaka hadn't given Ai his password. Osawa's last chance had gone up in smoke. He let out a long, shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more he could do? Keep out? Yeah, man, this game is brutal. Well then. Okay, now I gotta learn how to jump. Ozawa did not have any jumps. Minorikawa did, but he made it to a be continued. Right. What was Kano's jump? Did we already do the young man? It looks like I think we already did the... No, we already did the Achi thing. That's what it was. This is no good. Did Achi have a jump? No. Kano is not going to help. Wow. So, do I need to make a different choice with people then? Because... I don't think that's gonna matter. Kano's keep out was for Achi. That's not gonna help. Minorikawa jumped to Ozawa. We did that. And I don't think Ozawa had a jump. Do I make a different decision with somebody else? Common name, common name. This is probably a jump somewhere. No matter what Minorikawa chooses, he makes it to the end. But what if I guess the wrong common name? Endo could maybe jump to Achi, and we could finish it with Achi? Immediately! Endo! There it is, I found it! I'm gonna keep reading this and then go back to this point. Toyama furrowed his brow and muttered under his breath. No, that's not right. And then you can guess until you get it right. That's super clever! Yo, this game. Let's just go to Tanaka and do it. No, not that. So then you just keep guessing until you get it right. Well, now I gotta wonder if there are more jumps based on other wrong names I choose. But look at that! A common name too. Hold on, I go right to more things. Chiyo, Tanda, Nakamura, Yamamoto. Ooh, I don't know if this is gonna help. Yamamoto. No, but I feel like we're on the right track. And then the television switched. I'm gonna check the other common names just to make sure. Nakamura. No. Just on the television switch. Da -da 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 -da. Okay. It's probably not going to do anything for me for the last name, but I'll try it just to see what happens. Oh, damn it. There we go. Chiyotanda. Chiyotanda? Maybe that was it? Nah. Alright. Well, the point is we got Endo. That's clever, actually. The game actually makes you guess wrong. Oh, whoops, I didn't do the jump, but that's fine. It's right there anyway. That's super clever. Endo. God, that's great. Boom! We can move on with Achi. This is crazy. I thought it was going to build up to this. The workroom door slowly eased open. Oh man. Achi was too shocked for words. The girl who entered looked just like Hitomi. Maria! Hitomi! Achi blinked in bewilderment. I'm seeing double here. 4 Hitomis! It was almost as if Hitomi were standing in front of a mirror. The two girls looked so similar. Maria, thank goodness you're alright. I'm so sorry I had you worried. Maria was safe, Achi realized. At last, he had managed to fulfill his duty. How did you manage to get out of the storeroom? Daisuke had gone pale. Tell me, Maria said sharply, who was it who came up with this kidnapping plan? Suddenly, Daisuke shoved Maria aside and lunged for Hitomi. Stanley moved to stop him, but before he could intervene, the older man had a hold on Hitomi, pressing something that looked like a flashlight up against her neck. Ah, this is the taser scene that Kanan and Kano saw. Could Endo have been Alphard the whole time, just to arrange this crazy situation, and he hired Tatano just to bungle up his own plan? Dad! Achi started toward him, but Stanley held up his hand. Don't move. That's a stun gun. A piece of self-defense equipment for repelling would-be attackers with an electrical shock. There are several types, including baton-type stun prods and guns that fire needles attached to flexible wires. The latter type especially is frequently referred to in the US as a taser or taser gun due to the popular models not produced by Taser International, now Axon. Interesting. I didn't know that. So that was a case of like, it's like saying I want to make a Xerox when you want to make a copy, but Xerox produces the machines, or like saying you want a Kleenex or a Band-Aid instead of a tissue or a bandage. I didn't realize that Taser was one of those. Stun guns are used not only by civilians, but also by law enforcement and military personnel for non-lethal applications. If he zaps her in the neck, it could kill her. You know your stuff, Daisuke said. You deal in American electronics? No. I do this for a living. Stanley drew his gun in an instant, taking aim at Daisuke's forehead. Wait, hold on! Achi interposed himself between Stanley and his father. Achi was too shocked to even move. Now we get to choose what Achi feels, let alone says. So, yeah, right, Winterburn? Hiring someone specifically to mess up your own plan is a next-level villain move. So, yeah, what are we going to do? Are we going to get between our father and Stanley and have, like, a dramatic anime moment? Or are we going to let this play out? A or B, ladies and gentlemen? A stands for wait, and B stands for Achi, which starts with A. And Meowington, you think that Endo worked for Alphard. An interesting theory, and maybe he wanted to get in on his, like get his own results. So, B. We have one vote for B. I get the feel... Well, I'll get into that later. Let's find out what happens. One vote for B, one vote for A. Do we have any other input, please? We have 2 for B. 2 for A. We're tied. Do we have any more? Because if not, then I'll have to be the tiebreaker. Ladies and gentlemen, place your votes. Because if not, then I'll make my move. Achi's basically an anime protagonist anyway, so why not? He kinda is. He just one-shots everybody. We never got to the confrontation between him and Suzumu, so I don't know where that's going. And nobody else is voting, so I guess I'll break the vote. I kind of want to do A just because... Oh, we actually have another vote for A anyway. 2 more, in fact. So, alright, perfect. Works for me. The thing with B is that, like, A directly interferes with Stanley, but B kind of takes the, what is the word for it? Like, B takes the agency out of the character. Like, he was shocked, and stuff just happened. It wasn't, like, his choice to not move, it was our choice for him to be too shocked. So A anyway. A won, 6-2, it looks like. Or 6-4, excuse me. Wait, hold on. Anachi interposed himself. Dad, let Hitomi go. You need to stop this nonsense. Achi walked slowly toward his father, a pleading look in his eyes. Nonsense? Which one of us is talking nonsense here? You don't know what's going on. If you knew everything, then you'd be helping me. What do you mean, everything? With this girl's heart, we can save Suzune. Dad, who was it exactly that told you that? Oh, yeah, how would he know that? So maybe he's not Alphard then. Daisuke did not reply. I asked you a question. Who was it that put this crazy idea into your head? A foreign organ trafficker I met at the hospital, Daisuke muttered. In Japan, a medical professional known as a transplant coordinator handles the liaison between the donor and recipient parties, but there are many cases of illegal or borderline illegal activity carried out by third-party organ brokers. There are countries where organ transplants are openly performed for monetary gain, and no shortage of specialists willing to do the job. These questionable markets include suppliers who source viable organs and tissue for transplant from cadavers. Ugh. For a good cause, but that is kind of creepy. Stanley let out a snort. A likely story. It's true. I was suspicious at first myself, Daisuke says stubbornly, but I couldn't just sit around and wait for Suzune to die. And after talking to him about her rare blood type and all the difficulties in performing a transplant, he promised he'd do everything in his power. Daisuke's hands were trembling. Tears welled up in his vacant and bloodshot eyes. Then a while later, he got back in touch and told me he'd found a potential match. Someone with the same blood type as Suzune, and roughly the same age. But then he told me that the girl was still alive. And so, what was the point? Her heart might be a match for Suzune's, but it didn't matter if we couldn't get our hands on it. And I said that, but then the man told me. He told you what? Achi bit his lip. He told me to abduct her and turn her over to him. After that, he'd find a way to make it all work. At last, Daisuke had confessed. Now Achi had to try to come to grips with the truth that he had just heard. 'Cause he lives with this guy. I had to do something, his father continued vehemently. I had to abduct this girl and see things through. I just couldn't take it. Kotane Kotone had already been taken from me. The thought of losing Suzune, too. I had to make sure I didn't fail. So it was this organ trafficker who came up with the kidnapping scheme then, Stanley said. He kept his gun aimed at his target. Daisuke nodded. Describe him for me. He was tall, had black hair, spoke fluent Japanese. Stanley raised an eyebrow at that. Achi wondered if he had some idea who it might be. And taking Maria Ozawa hostage in order to lure out Hitomi, was that his idea as well? Yes, that's right. I allowed his computer to access my surveillance camera system as well. But then, this morning, I got a call from the hospital saying Suzune's condition was critical. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to help my girl right away. And then... Daisuke cut himself off, reaffirming his grip on his stun gun. I was looking at the surveillance monitor and I saw a detective I happened to know. He was right next to this girl here, and so I decided to ask him. I knew if I did, he wouldn't refuse. He could never refuse a request from me. And that was the man with the cane? Achi asked. His voice was low and hoarse. Yes. I was giving him directions while I followed you on the monitors. Dad, you need to let go of Hitomi now. There's no point to this. Achi took another step... Excuse me. Achi took another step closer to his father. There is a point. If I kill this girl here and now, your sister can get the surgery she needs. But even Achi knew that things couldn't possibly work out that way. His father had grown so desperate to help Suzune that he lost all sense of judgment. Why, Achi? Why won't you help me? Don't you want to save Suzune? Daisuke made a pathetic sight. And yet his desperation to save his child was so palpable it was heartrending. Achi thought back to that time he'd laid his father out when sparring. No matter how pathetic he may have looked, Achi had always felt that sense of paternal love from him. You're not going to be able to talk him down, Stanley murmured. Achi shook his head, with no space between murmured and Achi. Stanley, he said, lower your gun. Tears were welling up in his eyes. Please, lower your gun. Hearing the determination in Achi's voice, Stanley quietly complied. Achi stepped up to Daisuke, getting a firm grip on his father's slender shoulder. Dad, of course I want to help Suzune. Then why are you trying to stop me? Dad, do you think this is what she'd want you to do? Daisuke's face fell. Did Suzune ask for this, Dad? Did she tell you to take someone else's heart so that she could live longer? Did she, Dad? Suddenly, the fight seemed to ebb from Daisuke's body. The stun gun hung limply in his hand. If Suzune asked me to go and get someone else's heart for her, I wouldn't object. I'd help her, just like she wanted. I wouldn't let you bear these crimes by yourself. But that's not what this is it? If it were, then I would also be this game's villain. Suzune would never ask us to do something like this, would she? By now, tears were streaming down Achi's cheeks. I'll assume the words are correct, because the picture's only just getting to it. He knew that his father thought about Suzune more than he thought of anyone else, and so he should know full well that she would never want this. Suzune is not like me. She's smart, she's kind, and she'd never be happy about taking someone else's heart. Even if it saved her life, I'm sure she'd never accept that. She wouldn't be able to live with it, knowing something so horrible had happened to someone else for her sake. Isn't that the Suzune we know? Daisuke's cheeks were smeared with tears now as well. But then we're not going to be able to help her. The sound of father and son weeping echoed through the workroom. Maybe so. Maybe we won't. But that's better than the misery and suffering she'd have to live with. Daisuke slumped to his knees on the floor, collapsing like a crumbling mound of sand. Hitomi, freed from his grip, stood motionless. There were tears in her eyes, too. You're such an idiot, Dad. Such a complete, utter idiot. Sobbing, Achi embraced his father. There was a sudden thud from near the door. Everyone turned to look. Yeah, it had to happen sooner or later. Maria had crumpled to the floor. And a newcomer had appeared. Oh, they finally... Oh, yeah, of course, they were right there. At some point, Kanan had silently entered the room, and now she cradled Maria in her arms. Standing in the doorway was a man Achi didn't recognize, his face pale. "Stay back!" Kanan shouted at Achi when he tried to approach. It looked like Maria had fallen unconscious. Achi's heart was racing in his chest. An eerie silence fell over the room. For several seconds, no one said a word, their eyes all fixed on Maria. Finally, Kanan looked up, her face ashen. It's starting. Oh man, this game. It's one thing after another. That's the to be continued? So I guess there's no more bad ends, but like there's a final chapter where you just kind of see what happens, I suppose. It's jump time, baby. An unfamiliar man. Hello there, Anan. Bam. Bam. And we're going in a very specific order this time, too. After the young man's desperate pleading, the other fellow, apparently his father, finally gave in. He released his hold on Hitomi. The tension in the room was replaced by a solemn air of gravitas. Seeing father and son weeping as they spoke made Kano think back to his conversation with Hateno before the stakeout. What was it in people that drove them to do such horrible things? Sometimes it was the desire to save the ones they loved. Even such a heartfelt human emotion could drive someone to wrongdoing. Why? Why did people have to be like that? A sudden thud snapped Kano out of his musing. An instant later, Kanan hurried past him into the workroom. So we are just picking up right where we left off. Maria had collapsed onto the floor, and now Kanan was beside her. In a panic, Kano rushed into the workroom as well. "Stay back!" Kanan shouted, as the others tried to huddle around the fallen girl. Please don't be what I think this is. Had the virus gone symptomatic? 2 hours ago, Stanley had told Kano that Maria was infected. And remember, she's patient 0. He'd also said that her symptoms wouldn't develop for another 4 hours. Shouldn't they still have 2 more hours to go? Maria looked like she was dead, her eyes closed, her body motionless. Hitomi tried to approach, despite Kanan's warning. "Maria!" she cried. "Maria, what's wrong?" Kano held his arms wide to hold her back. "Your sister has been infected with the UA virus." The UA virus? Hitomi's face went pale. "Hey," Kano said to Kanan, "should you really be that close? If she's developed symptoms..." But Kanan didn't move from Maria's side. She calmly rested her hand on the other girl's forehead. "There's no fever," she said, "and there's no blood coming from her ears, no lymph swelling. I'll be alright. She hasn't gone symptomatic yet." "Well, in that case, why'd she collapse?" Hitomi asked. "I'm not sure yet. Whatever the case, if we don't get her that antiviral, she's done for." "Then we have to get her to the lab right away," Hitomi said. She was trembling with anxiety. "No, that's not an option." Kano's tone was grave. "You may already be aware, Miss Ozawa, but without a password we can't access the antiviral storage." "But when I went there, my father and Mr. Tanaka..." "Mamoru Tanaka is dead. Murdered." "What?" She stared at him uncomprehendingly. No, that can't be true. He was a member of a crime syndicate. It's possible they killed him in order to silence him. So then, there's no way to save my sister? There was a hollow look in Hitomi's eyes. "No, I won't accept that. Why? Why can't we help her?" But no one had an answer. Kano gritted his teeth and hung his head. Why did it have to come to this? He'd come this far, but there was nothing he could do, and he hated himself for it. "I'll go to the laboratory." It was Kanan. "Electronic lock breaking is my specialty." "Wait." The young man, Achi, spoke up suddenly. So you're a martial artist badass, but your specialty is lock-breaking? He looked positively dumbstruck. Kanan ignored him, thinking out loud. Brute force. A cryptanalysis technique that involves test input of all theoretically possible patterns. If time were unlimited, this would be one of the most reliable means of decipherment. However, in practice, the process takes massive amounts of time and computational power and can be defeated by systems that prohibit access after a limited number of failed input attempts. Side channel. Rather than trying to decipher the password itself, this method involves analyzing information from the device, such as processing time, power consumption, electromagnetic leaks, and using these details to exploit the system. Isolating the run state of devices is a crucial element of countering side channel attacks. Shortcut uses mathematical algorithms to carry out efficient bulk calculations against a block cipher that makes use of a shared key for encryption and decryption. Even when such calculations are theoretically possible, however, in practice the process requires large amounts of time and the block cipher is seldom at real risk. Given the situation, I think I have to go with side channel. Side channel? Stanley asked. Where's your equipment? One of the lab PCs will suffice. I can connect to a special server from the net. I don't really understand the stuff you're talking about, Achi said, but I'll trust you to handle this. I mean, you did risk your life to save Hitomi from that minivan explosion and all. Kanan nodded. I have to warn you in advance, though. Cryptanalysis can take hours and still yield no results. I can't guarantee I'll be able to get the doors unlocked before Maria develops symptoms. I understand, Hitomi said. Achi nodded too. No one present had any objections. All of a sudden, there was a curious sound from somewhere in the room. What's that? Kano asked. What's making that noise? He looked around the workroom. That's my computer. Daisuke hurried to his desktop. Oh boy, this ought to be good. The bank of monitors, which had been displaying surveillance camera footage from around Shibuya, had all gone black. What the hell? What's going on, Dad? Achi joined his father, staring at the computer screens. It's all gone. The camera footage. It has been deleted. Daisuke blinked in disbelief. Oh boy. Now then, it seems our main cast has all been assembled. A man's voice... Really? Distorted by a voice modulator, suddenly emerged from the computer speakers. Wow, it's the beginning of 999. Oh, wow, it's Danganronpa! A moment later, the monitors all began to display a view of the inside of the workroom. Dad, what the hell is this? Someone's broken through our firewall. A security system for preventing unauthorized intrusion into a computer network. The term stems from a metaphorical reapplication of the concept of a wall meant to inhibit the spread of fire or other destructive forces. They've hijacked the surveillance camera system. The color drained from Daisuke's face as he looked at the screens. Where are they filming from? Kano asked, scanning the inside of the room. He used the image of the monitors to guess where the camera might be located. Over here? The lens of a camera set atop the computer monitor glimmered like an eye. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Kano. Ichigo Berry, will you ever play that game? Well, it depends which one you're asking about. I'm working on 999 with some friends. It's just it takes a while for us to get together to record it. And I have done Danganronpa, at least the first one. It was a miniature camera used for web conferencing and the like.
Now that Maria and Hitomi are both there, you have probably surmised the situation at hand. And so I offer a proposal. The laboratory password in exchange for Hitomi's blood.
Realizing now that it was Alphard's voice they were hearing, everyone in the room froze.
At 7 o'clock, roughly 1 hour from now, Cedar Hitomi Ozawa is waiting at a scramble intersection outside Shibuya Station, just like this morning. Unless, of course, you're feeling particularly confident. You do have Kanan with you. Perhaps you'd care to take a gamble on her lock-breaking skills instead.
Kanan clucked her tongue in frustration. Alphard had known exactly what the plan was. This is brutal!
Of course, if Kanan isn't able to get the doors in time, what will you do then? Maria should die, yes. But that's not all. If you don't agree to my offer, I have the means of creating another Maria, and a third. These infectees will spread the virus through Tokyo, the death toll will likely number in the hundreds of thousands.
It is difficult to predict the scope of infection in the event of a bioterrorist attack employing a highly infectious viral agent in a city with a large and mobile population. In a worst case? Isn't it worst case? Scenario, some researchers estimate as many as several million infected in a matter of days. Brutal.
So I do things carefully before you decide.
Alphard's voice was chillingly matter-of-fact.
I will appear at the rendezvous in person. After all, it wouldn't do for the star of the show to miss the final curtain. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you then.
Silence fell. You know, I saw in the chat someone had theorized that maybe Alphard is Tanaka. Like, well, I was wondering if he faked his own death, but people were able to identify the body, so I don't know. And the opening movie did show a person clearly alive in that van, so, Then the images on the computer monitor returned to normal. The surveillance camera footage came back online as well. Terrifying. Daisuke promptly yanked out his Ethernet cable and slammed his fists on the keyboard. Damn it! There was a hole in the firewall. I'll have to redo my security from the ground up. Good call, Kanan said calmly. We can't win this if our intel keeps getting leaked. Stanley pursed his lips in consternation. What do we do? Kano asked him. Do we give in to his demands? I mean, do we really expect he's going to just blithely show up like that? He's practically begging for us to come and catch him. There had to be some deeper plan at work. If it means saving my sister, I'll do it. Hitomi was resolute. Hello there, Eileen. No, Stanley said, you can't. What? Why not? Because if you do, you'll be killed. What? Hitomi's voice caught in her throat. With the antiviral still present in your body a week after the fact, you're too much of a liability for Alphard to just let go. He's right. Don't do it, Achi exclaimed. Hitomi, you can't go. Even still, I want to do it. Hitomi stared defiantly at Stanley. You still want to go, even knowing that you'll be killed? I can't just sit here and hope that Kanan is able to pull this off, she said. I want to do something for my sister. I want to save her. She peered down at Maria, sprawled on the floor. She'd object to me going. I'm sure of that. But I want to do what I can. To do things my way. No one tried to contradict her this time. If she's willing to take the risk, then there are things the rest of you can do, too. It was Kanan again. Let's hear it, Kana replied. He squared his shoulders. He was of the same mind as Hitomi. He couldn't just do nothing and leave it all on Kanan. After everything he'd been through, he wanted to stick with his case until the very end. Apprehend Alphard at the rendezvous and demand the password from him. Kanan offered the suggestion as if it were a simple task. That lets you get what you want without putting Hitomi in danger. Kana let out a sigh. Hold on, he said. Even if we do arrest him, how are we going to get him to cough up the password? We don't have time to drag him off to an interrogation room, and besides, he doesn't strike me as the sort to offer a confession that easily. There are ways, Kanan said. Once Alphard has made contact with Hitomi, call my cell phone. Hitomi tilted her head. Call you? I have plenty of information Alphard might want to bargain for. I can negotiate with him directly. Kano considered Kanan's proposal. I see. So we'll try both options. Attempt to hack the password at the lab and also try negotiating with Alphard. That gives us 2 chances. With that tiny ray of hope, Hitomi's face brightened some. We'll split into 2 groups, one for the lab and one for Shibuya Station, Kanan said. Let's exchange phone numbers so we can be in touch when the time comes. The group quickly shared contact info as suggested. Hitomi and Kanan called one another's phones to be sure. Hitomi's cheerful ringtone felt out of place, but also somehow soothing, a fragment of normalcy in the midst of crisis. Well, guess we're all set then, Hitomi said, looking down at the LCD screen. Her expression turned apologetic. I'm sorry, Kanan, for having to keep putting things on you. Hey, Kanan replied, don't worry about it. Okay, now I guess I should call my father. Hitomi called Kenji Ozawa on his cell, asking him to let Maria and Kanan into the lab. Kano leaned in to whisper into Kanan's ear. Are you sure you're okay with this? With what? I know that you're after Alphard. Are you sure you want to go to the lab and not... Right now, I want to save Maria. That's all. Her tone was as curt and mechanical as ever, but there was a fierce gleam of determination in her eyes. Maria was clearly someone very special to her. All right, Kanan replied. Leave Alphard to me. He thumped himself on the chest. He'd succeed this time, no matter what the odds. Kano could scarcely recall the whirlwind of events that had brought him here. He'd somehow survived a dozen disasters. Even now, a dear friend was in the hospital, at risk of dying. That's right, Sasayama. That's right, the cosplay guy. There were times when he'd been ready to give up. And yet, at the end of it all, here he was. His opponent was an international terrorist. No matter how you looked at it, that wasn't a matchup for a mere detective. But I'm going to do it anyway. Rumi, Shizuo, Sasayama, and Detective Tateno. I'm going to take down Alphard and save Maria Ozawa's life. Just you watch and see. Damn, this is really getting intense. That is a good to be continued. It looks like, yeah, there's got to be one final conclusion chapter. And now we could jump to Ozawa, and I think... Is he the last story, Ozawa? No, Minorikawa's still going. Alright. Alright, so we're going to call Kenji Ozawa. Boom. Tanaka hadn't given Ai his password. Osawa's last chance had gone up in smoke. He let out a long, shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more he could do? Osawa's cell phone rang. When he saw the name on the incoming call display, he nearly shouted out loud. It was Hitomi. Hitomi? Are you alright? Please tell me you're alright. Yeah, I'm fine. But Maria's... Maria? Is Maria there with you? Osawa's heart leaped. Dad, there isn't any time for me to explain everything, so I'll have to just give you the main points. This is so we can save my sister, so just stay calm and listen. Ozawa struggled to hold back the 1,000 questions that immediately came boiling into his mind. There's a girl named Kanan who's going to bring Maria to the lab. She's going to try to hack the password in order to get us inside. Wait, hold on. Just what in the world is going on? There are a bunch of people here working to help save Maria. Can you wait for us at the lab, Dad? I'm not sure that electronic lock is something that will be so easy to... We've got another plan in motion, too, and if that goes well, we might be able to learn the password. It was all too much to follow, but Ozawa realized they'd have to take Hitomi at her word. It was their only hope of saving Maria. Alright, he said. I'll do as you ask, but you said you're trying 2 approaches. You're not going to be in danger, are you? No, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Okay, very well. I'm heading to the laboratory now. You can't. You can't go. The moment Ozawa hung up and started for the house, Ai clung to him from behind. If you use the antiviral now, she said, everything will go public. There's no way we could keep the virus or the antiviral under wraps at this point. Ozawa tried to pull free, but his wife was stronger than he expected. Besides, if Maria infects other people, the whole world is going to find out in a matter of hours. No, we could just quarantine her. If it's handled correctly, we'll still be able to retain secrecy. That is freaking cold, man. Ai's voice was cold as ice. You are goddamn right. Hello there, Jay. Do you even have any idea what you're saying right now? I do. I know how it sounds, but this is the only thing I can... Her voice trailed off, and he could feel the force of her trembling voice where she held him. Have I really put you into that much of a corner? Ozawa slipped from Ai's arms and prostrated himself on the ground in front of her. I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly sorry. Oh, stop this. Get up. If you're really sorry, then don't go into that lab. But Ozawa remained silent, his forehead pressed to the dirt. If you use that antiviral without corporate approval, your time with Akashi is finished. That doesn't matter to me anymore. How can you say that? Virology is the only thing you've ever cared about. I began pummeling his back. This is so anime. Maybe virology is all that I care about. I don't know the first thing about anything else. I never wanted to know. Never even thought to find out. Never bothered to learn what you or my own children might think. I'm a failure, as a father and as a husband. How dare you say that only after it's come to this? I struck him again, harder than before. You're right. He gasped out the words between her blows. Maybe this has been too long coming. but it's not too late. I can still start over. Start over? She paused in disbelief. You already turned down that American job. If you use the antiviral now, there won't be any starting over. You'll lose everything. Will I lose you, too? After you've gone and thrown everything else away like this? How could I possibly stay with you? I was sobbing softly now. Ozawa wondered what her tears were for. But there was one thing he did know. She was right. They couldn't be together anymore. He got to his feet and headed back into the house, leaving Ai behind. Damn. Brutal. He hurried through the back entrance and went into the garage. Climbed into his car, fastened his seatbelt, and took a deep breath. The image of a younger Maria arose in the back of his mind. There she was at that park, getting drenched by the rain. Hello there, Keely. Holding back her tears as she waited for her father. Wait for me, Maria. This time, I'm going to come for you. I was wrong. Going to the lab wouldn't mean losing everything. He let too many important things slip through his fingers. Now it was time to go take them back. Ozawa pulled his car onto the street and sped towards the laboratory. As if to signal that the long day was drawing to a close, the dazzling sun sank down between the buildings in the distance. This has gotta be a to be continued screen. But wait, how do we go to Minorikawa then? Wait, end? What? Oh, wow. End of his story. And... oh, man. Okay. How do I Minorikawa? Clearly I missed something. I don't know if that matters. And he's not... oh wait, no, I think I could just play. Because there's no keep out. I think I just play. Tanaka. But that was his ending, though. We already reached an ending with Tanaka, though. Or with Minorikawa. So, like, do I just button mash my way through this? Are they messing with me? Oh, maybe I didn't have that continue because I chose a different name, so I just gotta go back to this. That's probably my problem. Alright, so I am gonna have to button mash my way through a few dialogue boxes, but we'll get to this. And when we get to Minorikawa's ending, then we'll have the end of this chapter, I think. Eileen, have I ever tried playing a game in a foreign language? Yeah, I've played, I played a Dragon Ball Z RPG on the Super Nintendo, like on an emulator in college, because I already know the plot, and the game was intuitive enough for you to easily figure it out. And I've also played 2 JoJo PS2 games, because again, what you have to do is basic enough, just like punch the other guy, and the plot I already knew from reading manga back in the day. So in the meantime, I'm button mashing through a story we've already read. But I think once we get to the end screen of Minorikawa here, I think this might be the I think this might be it. We cool? Yeah. I'm sorry, Suzumu. Oh, Suzumu is here! The UA is out now. Oh god, this is really picking up. Mr. Mino, answer me! We meet at last, Alphard. You can go ahead and kill me. Yo, this is Oh boy, 18 to 20. The last block is 2 hours? Whoa, I was not prepared for this. Shibuya Scramble, you're goddamn right. But this one I don't think has any bad endings because there's no achievements for it. Unless it's like a secret hidden achievement or something. Okay. Chat. What the hell am I doing from this point? Minorikawa, Kano, or Achi? Never mind. Minorikawa or Kano? Who's it gonna be? Kano or Minorikawa? Minorikawa or Kano? What's it gonna be? I am quite curious. We start with a keep out for Achi, which is insane. It's a good thing I scrolled through characters when I asked that question, because if the chat went for Achi, then it would have been like, sorry, vote again. So 2 votes for Minorikawa, 1 for Kano, 3 for Minorikawa. 4. Minorikawa is kind of steamrolling this one. 5, yeah, okay. I think we know where this is going. Boom! Let's go. Right, we're dealing with, yeah, Chiaki. Hang in there, Chiaki. Just keep it together. Minorikawa rushed to her side and offered her a hand. Surely it hardly matters at this point. You're not going to make it on time regardless, Katayama said coldly. I will make it on time, and don't call me Surely, said Minorikawa. This freaking guy. And in any case, if 4-star General Gossip doesn't get released, it's Mr. Toyama who's going to be in trouble, not you. I dare say the world would be better off with 1 third-rate gossip rag less, anyway. Shut your mouth, Chiaki snapped. If the gossip doesn't come out, I am going to be in trouble. An article I've written is supposed to be in next month's issue. It's a piece I've worked my very hardest on, to the very end. A piece Mr. Mino saw fit to put to print. Or to put in print, I guess. And so if that goes away, if all of that goes away, yeah, I'll be in trouble, alright. Chiaki's legs wobbled as she struggled to get back to her feet. Chiaki, Katayama said, your zeal is a marvelous thing. Worthy of admiration, even. But when it comes to work, results are all that matters. I'm sad to have to put it that way, but I must be honest. It's just common decency. Katayama glanced at his pocket watch. You have 57 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. At this rate, you won't even make it to the interview venue before your time's up. Frankly, I don't think even a further extension of your deadline would make any difference in the end. Damn it! Minorikawa ground his teeth. He wondered if he should just leave Chiaki here and go to the interview SOS by himself. He could expand the article on SOS, then work a small part of Chiaki's interview piece in to at least fill the layout. Right now, the single most important thing was getting the magazine out the door for Toyama's sake. But if he did cut most of Chiaki's copy, after all she'd done, he might wind up totally killing her passion for being a writer. I have to stop waffling. Professionals don't let their personal feelings dictate their decisions. I can help Chiaki work through her emotional struggles later. Chiaki, that's enough. The young woman got to her feet, staggering as she began to climb the stairs. I'm not giving up, she said under her breath. I can't give up now. Though obviously in pain, she struggled to keep her legs moving. Damn, I can't do it. Look how hard she's fighting to stay in the game. I can't tell her I don't need her article now. Releasing the next issue of the Gossip wasn't just going to save Toyama, it would save Chiaki as well. Minorikawa couldn't abandon either one of them. Which left him with a hell of a dilemma. He needed to make a decision if he didn't stop... he needed to make a decision. If he didn't stop wavering soon, they'd be out of time. But try as he might, he couldn't come up with a plan. Then he heard a familiar voice from behind him. If you're wondering what path to take, allow my taxi to be your guide. Yeah! This freaking guy walks in like a movie hero. Look at this freaking guy. This is the best. Minorikawa spun around to see Kimizuka standing there. With the slow text, that's great. Where to, sir? The driver asked. Despite his polite demeanor, his pride was obvious. Mr. Kimizuka, I appreciate the thought, but with this traffic? Traffic? I see nothing of the sort. Okay, sure, but... Minorikawa was well aware of Kimizuka's capabilities, but the prospect of cutting through the chaos that currently filled the streets was more than a little daunting. When you know this town as well as I do, there's nowhere you can't go. Alright. What other choice do I have? Guess I've gotta trust you. This will be my last request of the day. Minorikawa pointed down the street. Take us to Bride, in Ura Harajuku. Take us to Inferno, in Ura Harajuku. Take us to the Labyrinth, in Ura Harajuku. Do you have any place in mind? I believe we wanted to go to Inferno to interview SOS. But what does the chat think about this? Because who the hell knows with this game, right? A for Bride, B for Inferno, C to Labyrinth, and D to, I don't know, Taxi Driver. Where do you think we should go? What are the votes going to be for this? I am most curious. I mean, if I had to vote, I'd probably say Inferno, but you never know with this game. So what's it going to be? 1 for C, 1 for B, 2 for B, 1 for D, 3 for B, 2 for C, 3 for C, 2 for D, 4 for B, 5 for B. Huh, I actually really thought the chat was going to go with C because David Bowie, because multiple people were saying, oh, the movie, and David Bowie, and Dance Magic Dance. But B is where we're supposed to go, but again, with this game, you never know. Inferno in Ura Harajuku. The bar? Kimizuka quirked an eyebrow. Yes, is something the matter? No, nothing at all. Hurry up and get in. Oh, okay. As soon as Minorikawa and the others had climbed into the cab, Kimizuka tore off through Shibuya's network of narrow side streets. Passengers in the back seat jostled roughly back and forth to the sound of screeching tires. Jeez. This is altogether far too excessive, Katayama murmured, wincing as his head bounced repeatedly against the window. To think we allow such inconsiderate driving here in this country. That's just common indecency. Chiaki, meanwhile, had opened her laptop and was somehow working furiously to finish her copy. The sound of her fingers clicking across the keys echoed within the vehicle. How's it going, Chiaki? Minorikawa asked. Just a little more. Her eyes were glued to her monitor, her face all seriousness. Kimizuka glanced over at Minorikawa. If I may ask, sir, what business do you have at this bar? Just a little interview. I hear a local gang called SOS uses the place as their big hangout. You're interviewing SOS? Sir, I feel it might be best not to get too involved with that lot. There was something about the driver's warning that seemed a little off. What, are you part of it? Do your taxi driver connections tell you what SOS is up to? Minorikawa asked. Originally, they were something of a vigilante corps in the name of keeping the neighborhood clean and safe. But lately I hear nothing but bad things about them. Those loan sharks had said something very similar. Minorikawa reminded himself that he'd better be on his guard. Katayama chimed in. And just how do you plan to go about interviewing a gang like this? That's nothing for you to worry about. I have a plan. Oh ho! And just what exactly is this plan? It's a secret. Katayama gave him a derisive grin. Clearly he wasn't impressed. Minorikawa turned to look at Chiaki. She appeared to be too engrossed in her copy to even hear the conversation. I realize this is for work, Kimizuka said worriedly, but do you really need to take such risks? Yes, I do. Minorikawa thought back to that look on Toyama's face, that look when he'd finally regained his confidence. He couldn't let Heaven Publishing go under. Toyama provided the canvas on which Minorikawa shared his art with the world. Thinking about it now, Minorikawa realized he'd always been chasing Toyama's shadow. Though it was galling to admit, that man had been the ideal Minorikawa strove to live up to. That was why he'd hated seeing Toyama reduced to such a pathetic state. He wanted Toyama to remain indomitable, to keep busting down any and all obstacles in his own peculiar way. Still, Minorikawa wasn't about to voice those feelings aloud. He felt more than a little embarrassed to be taking it all so personally. When you take on a job, you give it 100%, every time. That's what makes you a professional, he said. Wouldn't you agree? I do indeed, Katayama chimed in, but you'll have to demonstrate that 100% in the limited time you have left. which, by the way, is 51 minutes and 30 seconds, and I will not budge in the slightest on that submission deadline. Please do keep that in mind. The man took another look at his watch. I've got half a mind to break that thing, Minorikawa told him. Breaking my watch will not stop time. Minorikawa shot him a furious glare, but Katayama's composure was unwavering. The guy was unflappable, and the only way that Minorikawa was going to be able to put him in his place was to meet his damn deadline. Easier said than done, though. He'd want to use 30 of the 51 minutes he still had to write his article. Oh god, brutal. That only left him 20 or so to get the material. Blue van? What? Kimizuka suddenly slammed on the brakes, and the cab skidded to a halt. Minorikawa stared through the windshield in shock and saw a smallish, boxy minivan weaving erratically along the road. Whoa, look out, that thing's headed our way! Don't worry, sir, the driver replied. Just leave this to me. Keeping his cool, Kimizuka dexterously steered them clear of the oncoming vehicle. Oh man. As the minivan sped past, an eerily cold breeze wafted over the taxi. The vehicle is being driven by members of the Wandering Angels Theater Troupe. Oh, wow! So that's why it had a cool breeze. They're on their way to return the dry ice machine they used in their performance to Endo Electronics. The machine is malfunctioning, continually spitting out white plumes of carbon dioxide. The troupe members inside the van are beginning to suffer from oxygen deprivation and are driving around Shibuya in a daze. Will they be able to make it to Endo Electronics in the end? God damn, this is amazing. We've never even met the damn Wandering Angels, except for like 2 of them for a second in the supply room, and they have a whole arc that exists solely in these footnotes. What the heck was that? Minorikawa asked. I'm not sure, Kimizuka said, but let's hurry on our way. Nimbly manipulating the gear stick, he stomped on the gas once more. Here we are, sir. Inferno. Did that say bar none? That's kind of cute. They'd pulled up outside of a dilapidated old pool hall. You're a lifesaver. Minorikawa clapped a hand on Kimizuka's shoulder. Just be sure to be careful, sir. Minorikawa nodded. Huh? What? Jackie asked, looking up. What are we being careful about? Nothing, Minorikawa said. You just wait here in the car. You've still got that copy to finish up, yeah? Well, yes. Alright then. Chiaki frowned but resumed her typing. And you wait here too, Minorikawa said to Katayama. But of course, that goes without saying. Incidentally, you have 49 minutes and 6 seconds remaining. Minorikawa did some quick mental math. With the half hour he'd already set aside, that left him 19 minutes. However dangerous SOS might be, he couldn't afford to hesitate for even a single second. Bracing himself, he stepped out of the taxi and headed for the pool hall. I hope he does not meet Suzumu here, because Suzumu said, I'm gonna get my super weapon, you better wait here and not move. And then Minorikawa pieced out in a taxi, so this could be a problem. Whew. Minorikawa took a deep breath as he approached the grimy door. Here goes. He drew his leg back and gave the door a hearty kick. Maybe he should have tried just opening it first. Oh god. Oh no. The mob of young men inside the bar turned as one at the sound of the door crashing open. I am here for an interview. Dead or alive, you're talking to me. Who the hell are you? Several of them started toward him belligerently. Just calm down and hear me out, he said. I've come to interview you. Interview us? The hell for? Yeah, Meowington, for real. Kimizuka, it said something was off about the way he said not to go to the bar, but we should have done something different. Like, I haven't had a choice yet. So, like... Oh, for going to the Inferno, you mean? Yeah, that was the one choice we have had. I guess we'll find out. These were hot-headed punks, all right. They seemed to be itching for a confrontation. Minorikawa felt like a punch might come flying his way at any moment. Then another voice called out from further back. Hold up, guys. It was a young man seated in the far back corner of the bar. His air of authority marked him as the gang's leader. That must be Suzumu then, Minorikawa thought. Oh boy. Well, when you say interview, do you mean for TV? Or like a magazine? Mind telling us who you are? The name is Minorikawa. I'm a freelance journalist. I'm doing a magazine piece about young people in Shibuya. All I'm asking is just for you guys to answer a few questions. Here's the answer to the science quiz from last time. Hey, methane! Well done, chat. Or wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well done, chat. Methane has been tapped as a potential new energy source to replace fossil fuels or atomic power, but there are concerns about its tendency to exacerbate the global warming process. It is extremely flammable. The methane produced by food waste has been known to cause garbage trucks to catch fire. Hey, chat, third time. Congratulations. Huh. Suzumu sounded less than enthused. Just 5 minutes, Minorikawa said. What do you say? Nah. I'm not in the best of moods right now. Go on, get out of here. This is our one chance to maybe walk away. It was a bad end when Suzumu alone beat the crap out of us, so I don't know about a whole room of these guys. Right, Minorikawa thought. He's gonna make things difficult. But he hadn't expected these troublemakers to just up and accept an offer to appear in print. Now was when the real battle would begin. Guess I'll just have to write my piece without your help, then. Suzumu took the bait and shot him a look. Write about what, exactly? Your little warehouse raids. Warehouse raids? Suzumu raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? Really now? You're gonna tell me you don't know your boys are dealing in stolen goods? SOS doesn't steal, man. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Oh, yeah? Why don't you ask those two over there? Oh, no. Hey there, Dehypnus. Oh, man, he's putting those two guys on the spot? Hey there, Fool Arcana. Oh, God. He'd spotted the two fellows he'd seen arguing earlier at the scene of the explosion. Now he pointed them out. Their faces betrayed their alarm. Oh, wow. I did not expect it to take this turn. Suzumu glared at them. Is this true? They averted their eyes and said nothing. Oh boy, I wonder if Suzumu was going to do the guillotine. And when I looked up what that meant, it just told us what an actual guillotine was, so I don't know what the hell he meant. I asked you a question. Have you been stealing stuff? After a long moment of surly hesitation, both young men nodded. Jesus. You idiots! Suzumu marched up to the two and without warning decked them both. How dare you sully the SOS name? As the two gang members cowered, he continued to repunch them repeatedly. Okay, enough with the beatdown. Minorikawa stepped up to intervene. Let's get down to business here. I won't reveal anything about the warehouse raids. In exchange, you give me my interview. How's that? Not a bad deal, I'd say. But Suzumu ignored him, continuing his pummeling of the pair. Oh boy. Whoa, hey, nobody's gonna play nice with the guy who flies off the handle and beats on people, you know? What did you just say? Well, look at yourself. You're clearly not the cream of the crop here, kid. Oh, man. Okay. Have a good night, Eileen. Oh, boy. At that, Suzumu's fists finally fell still. You, the leader of the gang, who gave me a bad end in a different universe, are not the cream of the crop. And the game is dead silent. The rowdy bar went completely silent. Oh, Jesus Christ. Say that one more time. I dare you. I'll put your ass in the ground. The gang leader's eyes were red with rage. Minorikawa snorted, unafraid. Jeez, dude, you do not remember the alternate universe where you got your ass beat to the point where you got sent to the hospital. Huh. That's the exact sort of line I'd expect from a total wuss who's all bark and no bite. Dude, you just watched The Bite. Shut your damn mouth. Get the hell out of here. Oh, this is hilarious. SOS's top dog is such a yappy little puppy. Suzumu snarled like an animal. You son of a bitch. I'm gonna beat your ass. Mr. Mino, I'm all finished. An ebullient voice resounded suddenly through the bar. Hello there, IMLRG. Cheerful and full of energy. Originally, the term indicated a state of bubbling or boiling, so it's effectively a fancy way of describing someone as bubbly. Ah, I learned something. Hi! Chiaki! Minorikawa looked and saw that both she and Katayama had appeared in the doorway. Aww! Katayama does care after all. What a guy. I mean, it's only common decency, after all. I finished my copy. Could you please look it over for me right now? Yeah, I don't think she knew this was a gang. Or at least to what degree. She thrust out her laptop proudly. Susumu stared in bewilderment. Who the hell are you? Oh, I was under the impression you SOS folks were, being interviewed? Jackie broke off haltingly. Yeah, you're right about that. One by one, gang members started to close in around her. Well, it's just, you look like you're really angry is all. Oh, do we now? That's because we are pretty damn angry. Good grief, Katayama groans. Yari does it. It would seem that getting your interview is quite impossible. By the way, you only have another... You shut up, Minorikawa snapped as Katayama peered at his watch. Just leave this to me. You two hurry up and get out of here. The ultimate guts, Minorikawa. No way, Chiaki said. What? Why not? Because I want you to read my copy, Mr. Mino. She looked him right in the eye. This was no time for an editing session. He had to wrap up the SOS interview and fast. He didn't have much of a choice. He'd postpone the interview to read over Chiaki's copy. He understood how she felt, but this place was too dangerous. It was time to get Chiaki and Katayama out of here. Wow, a real choice. On one hand, I actually want to keep her around to, like, diffuse the situation, because everyone's distracted. But on the other hand, this place is dangerous, so I don't want her here, and I don't want me here either. So wow, chat, what the hell do I do? A, no, interview. B, delay even more and lose more time, and read over the copy right now. C, get the hell out. 1 for B, 1 for C, 3 for B, 4 for B, 2 for C. 3 for C, 1 for A. Damn, this is some situation. Have Chiaki interview the thugs. She'll probably do a better friggin' job, man. But anyway, B's the winner. Okay, fine, I'll just stand here in front of all these guys who want me dead and edit your copy on your laptop. Alright, he said, let me see your laptop. He held out his hand and started to make his way, oh boy, started to make his way over to her. Whoa! Before he could reach her, though, the SOS punks had Chiaki and Katayama surrounded. Ooh, what's this? Something important? One of the gang members reached out to grab Chiaki's computer. Knock it off! Don't touch that! Hello there, Kent. She struggled to resist. Leave the girl alone, you scumbags, Minorikawa barked. The young man in the bar stopped and turned. What a bad interview. Suzumu was quick to respond. Screw you, man. Who are you calling scumbags here? Any guy who raises a hand to a lady is a scumbag. If you're looking for a fight, you could fight me. It didn't go well last time. Literally every fight Minorikawa has picked has ended badly. Just like Miku beat the crap out of him. Shizuo was like, hey, you do know I'm a pro at judo, right? And now freaking Suzumu. Just get your hands off the girl. Minorikawa did his best to look unafraid as a couple dozen vicious gazes now turned back on him. Bring it on, Suzumu said. Hey, someone go stand lookout out front. He snapped his fingers sharply. Get him. At the signal, Suzumu's men quickly closed in on Minorikawa. But that's okay, I'm a badass. Nope. It was like being caught up in a tsunami. He took a hard punch to the face and his vision went blurry. Before he could react, he was hit again twice. Thrice. We're actually using thrice with punches and kicks. Fool Arcana, that's a very good point. Yeah, anyone who raises a hand to a lady is a scumbag when he punched Miku in the flank. Although that was in the alternate universe, so that never happened. The moment his first assailant paused, another joined the assault. 4 blows, 5 blows, 6... Minorikawa lost count somewhere around 30. He was keeping count up to 30? What a freaking trooper. A metallic taste filled his mouth, and he could feel his consciousness fading. All the strength was being battered from his body. He couldn't even tell if he was standing on his feet or lying on his back. Then, finally, he felt himself crumble to the floor. Oh, jeez. And Katayama's just chilling. Even then, the beating did not let up. As he writhed helplessly, the young man kicked him in the gut over and over. Stop it, he heard Chiaki shriek. You're gonna kill him. But wait, Which is the correct choice for some reason. That's gotta be a bad end. Like, where are we gonna go from there? That moody angle. Eventually, Minorikawa forced himself to go limp. Finally, the kicking stopped. Ah, crap, one of the thugs muttered, sounding panicky. Did we take this a bit too far? Mr. Mino! Chiaki rushed to Minorikawa's side, sobbing. Please, she cried out, answer me! He held his breath and said nothing. Mr. Mino! Tears streaked down her cheeks, and she shook him desperately. I mean, we did directly ask for this. Don't worry, he gasped out at last, holding up a hand to stave her off. She let out a yelp of surprise, staring at his battered face. He could feel blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. That's it? He turned his grisly visage on the gang members as he painfully rose to his feet. Was this supposed to happen? I was joking earlier. Wah! Abruptly, Minorikawa broke into peals of mocking laughter. Mr. Mino? Chiaki stared at him aghast. Wah! He laughed. He only laughed the harder. It seems he took a few too many blows to the head. The poor thing. Katayama averted his eyes, unable to watch. Wah! Minorikawa shot out an accusing finger out of the crowd. Really? Also out twice. He shot out a finger out. Looks like I win this round. Whoa! What? Suzumu blinked, dumbstruck. Don't you get it? Minorikawa said thickly around his bruised tongue. What am I saying? You're a bunch of idiots. Now then, if you'll pardon me. Oh, I get it! Minorikawa was halfway to the exit when Katayama's exclamation rang out. You were planning all along to let these guys beat you up, huh? Minorikawa jerked to a halt. Oh, crap. I blew it. His shoulders trembling. You knew they'd turn down the interview, and so by letting yourself get beat up, you'd have something to put in an article, yeah? It's a bit bogus, maybe, but I guess it's one way to get material to fill your pages. Minorikawa broke out into a cold sweat. Shut up, you idiot. But Katayama continued with his oh-so-brilliant analysis. You sure pulled a fast one on this gang here. I wonder what sort of headline your piece should have. The twilight of Shibuya's legendary street crew, former vigilante squad, now mere gang of common thugs. Something like that, maybe? Jesus, maybe this was a bad end after all. Suzumu glared daggers at Minorikawa. Go on. I dare you to write that up. Then we really will put your ass in the ground. He moved to block the path of the door, clutching a broken beer bottle in one hand. You moron! Minorikawa bellowed at Katayama. I was this close to pulling it off. Ah, well, that's a shame then, isn't it? Katayama replied. Minorikawa rolled his eyes. Gee, you think? Suzumu slowly advanced on them, beer bottle at the ready. Incidentally, Katayama said, you have 40 minutes and 7 seconds left. Good luck. Minorikawa hung his head. Was everything futile at this point? Hopeless, pointless, ineffectual. Not to be confused with feudal, which refers to the socio-political system of the Middle Ages involving lords and vassals and fiefdoms. Thanks? Alright, cool your jets. I'd say that's quite enough. What? What? People in the chat were talking about this earlier, but, like, Kimizuka did approach. Suzumu stopped and spun around. Kimizuka had entered the bar. The taxi driver stared out sternly from behind his sunglasses. All the young men in the bar fell silent. Minorikawa and his companions exchanged glances. Ah, man, you... Suzumu's face twisted up in awkward embarrassment. What are you, his dad? Kimizuka's tone was light and playful, but intimidating nevertheless. Whoa, hey now. That's no way to address your... teacher. Okay, I was in the neighborhood. Teacher? Minorikawa blurted in disbelief. Kimizuka nodded. Yeah, until last year I used to be a teacher, but I got into a bit of a dispute with my school, so I moved on. These guys in here are all former students of mine. Sorry that there's such a bunch of good-for-nothings. Man. Wow, Chiaki said. I'd have never guessed. I thought, since I wasn't their teacher anymore, it wasn't my place to butt in, but I couldn't sit idly by and let one of my customers take a beating. Kimizuka turned back to Suzumu. This guy's totally played you. Every last one of you. Suzumu bit his lip in frustration. Still, it's hard to imagine anyone would want to take a beating from this many guys all at once, so it's hardly your fault for falling for it. Kimizuka had switched gears from taxi driver to street smart mentor. Smeet smart, it's fine. You guys lost this one, he said, and for that, you need to give him his interview. No way, Suzumu looked disgusted. Look here, kid, Kimizuka said. Let yourself save some face and help the man out, and maybe you won't come off as a bunch of total idiots in his article. He flashed an amicable grin. Well, when you put it that way... Fine, alright. Suzumu blew out his breath in resignation. Suzumu, you can't just let yourself cave like that. The remark had come from a particularly nasty-looking young fellow who slouched on the bar sofa. Minorikawa recognized him, the kid he'd encountered earlier that afternoon wandering around with a wooden cudgel. Right, yeah, that wasn't Suzumu. This was the guy who was gonna freaking murder people. You shut up, Kiryu, Suzumu said. So what, you're just gonna let SOS make a mockery of itself? Kiryu demanded. The gang leader let out an annoyed growl but said nothing. And you still think you've got what it takes to run Shibuya? Shut up. I've already said I'll do it. Kiryu sneered sullenly at Suzumu's outburst. What a scary room. Oh, that's a good one, insane buffoon. Great teacher Kimizuka. Eh? Mr. Mino! Minorikawa was just letting out a sigh of relief at being able to get his interview when Chiaki scurried back up to him. Please, can you read my copy now? Her face showed a strange mixture of confidence and unease. All right, he said resignedly. Let me see it. The proofing deadline was drawing steadily nearer. Still, the piece wasn't good enough. He'd have to make her rewrite it again. He wasn't going to compromise on quality. Bracing himself, Minorikawa stared at the monitor. Chiaki swallowed hard, so anxious that it was audible. Minorikawa gave the piece a fast once-over and then read it again more closely. When he was done, he closed his eyes, considering. Chiaki held her breath, waiting for his response. It's okay. She looked back at him blankly for a long moment. Really? It's really okay. Is it really, really okay? It really is really okay. Minorikawa watched in surprise as she broke down in tears. Oh, thank you so much! Chiaki bowed profusely. He gave her an affectionate little ruffle atop her head. She wiped at her face with her palms, scrubbing the tears away. So I guess I never really told you? What sort of articles I want to write and all? No, I don't think you have. Well, I mean, I want to write socially conscious exposés like you do, Mr. Mino. And so, to hear you say that an article I wrote is okay, that makes me really, happy, I guess. Or maybe moved? Her eyes were still bright with emotion. Well then, really? There was actually another writer who took inspiration from his work, and who strove to be like him. Minorikawa had never thought a day like this would come. It was a peculiar feeling. He'd always been the follower, chasing after interviews in order to be more like Toyama. It made him feel both bashful and proud that the skill and soul he'd honed might be passed on to the next generation. Right, I should be off. Kimizuka gave Minorikawa a slight nod. Minorikawa returned the gesture, but more deeply. You really have been a tremendous help today. I'm not sure where I'd even be right now if you hadn't been there for me. Oh, no, not at all. I was just driving a customer around to where he asked me to go. Oh, that's right. I still owe you a fare. Opening his wallet, Minorikawa saw he had only a 10,000 yen bill. Still, now was no time to be frugal. Keep the change, he said as he handed it over. But even as he said, Kimizuka was already handing him some money back. Here, I insist. Hello there, Pikerbur. The driver had already counted out the exact change in advance. What a freaking guy! You really are a pro, huh? Minorikawa took the money and stuffed it into his pocket. Yes, we'll meet again, somewhere out there on the streets of Shibuya. Kimizuka pointed his index finger at Minorikawa's face. Yeah, right, Winterburn, I must be off. I sense someone needs a lift somewhere. Kimizuka pointed his index finger at Minorikawa's face, and Minorikawa responded in kind. Please show me that. No. After that, the interview with SOS went off without a hitch. I was actually surprised. I thought because the driver left, Kiryu might have a problem. Now that the tension was diffused, these were just a bunch of ordinary young guys. The juxtaposition of their appearance and their behavior would make for an interesting piece. So, about what you said earlier, Suzumu said once Minorikawa finished his questioning. About how I'm not the cream of the crop? Oh yeah, that. I just said it to get you worked up. Don't worry about it. Well, let me just ask you what you really think then. How do you think I could be a better leader? I don't know. I'm not really the sort of guy who wants to stand at the top, you know? But I guess I could tell you 2 things that'll make things go more smoothly with you and your buddies. Suzumu leaned in, listening intently. Forgiveness, and also trust. Minorikawa chewed over his own words. The events of the day replayed in the back of his mind. He'd forgiven Toyama for his faked suicide and trusted that he'd regain his reporter's edge. He'd forgiven Chiaki for her bungled interviews and trusted that she'd grow as a journalist. In the end, that's what it was that had helped him through. Forgiveness, followed by trust. Suzumu grumbled softly. Forgiveness and trust, huh? Doesn't sound so easy. People gravitate towards someone who can handle things when they get tough. With that, Minorikawa got to his feet. Now we've got all the articles we need covered. Chiaki rushed over to his side. Well, I guess we still need Mr. Toyama's piece. I just got off the phone with my office, Katayama said casually. It seems they've already received the data from him. Whoa, what? Guess he really can get the job done when he applies himself. Minorikawa felt an inner surge of pride. Now then. He indicated Katayama. How much time do we have left? 30 minutes remaining, Katayama replied, eyeing his watch. 30 minutes, huh? Looks like we might make it after all. Chiaki, laptop. Right. With a beaming grin, Chiaki held out her computer. Minorikawa got ready to start typing, but then a young man barged into the bar. This must be Achi, because we could not play as him earlier. Yeah? It's Achi Endo. He's come to ask the members of SOS to help with the planned operation down at the Scramble. I cannot wait. We're not doing this tonight, but I cannot wait for this to go down. This is going to be the big moment where he settles things with Suzumu. I can hardly wait. But Kiryu's out for blood too, so I don't freaking know, man. The newcomer hurried over to where Suzumu was sitting and promptly prostrated himself on the floor. There it is! There it is, we're doing it! Whatever this was about, it looked like a big deal. Who was this kid? The gang's feelings looked decidedly mixed. I need people to bring a guy down. I'm here to ask for your help. I know I have no right to ask you this, but please, I really need your help. That is absolutely a keep at. Nope, okay. As Minorikawa listened to the young man's conversation with Suzumu, oh, that's right, this is 2 hours. He could feel his blood start pumping. It sounded like they were talking about the terrorist plot in which Shibuya had become embroiled. Hey, Chiaki, he said quietly. Did you hear that just now? I did. I'm not sure I follow all of it, but it definitely has the whiff of a major scoop. Minorikawa shot her a daring grin. So what's the play here, Chiaki? We interview him, of course. But we only have 30 minutes left, right? So we take 10 minutes for our conversation and use the remaining 20 to write up the piece. I'll help you out. You learn good, kiddo. Minorikawa ruffled Chiaki's hair again. They both blushed profusely, gripped by a surge of excitement. Why are you doing this? I can't make any sense of it whatsoever. Katayama stood peering at them skeptically. If you write up the piece you just did your interview for, you'll make your deadline. Why go out of your way to trouble yourself further? It's no trouble, Minorikawa said. I'm just doing what a professional does. That's all. Katayama let out a solemn sigh. Yari yari does it. He looked at his pocket watch again, then snapped it shut. Well, if you aren't concerned about the time, then do as you like, I suppose. I'll admit, you've made me quite curious to read this magazine you're putting together. Minorikawa and Chiaki rolled their eyes, they turned away. Already they were making their way over to Suzumu and his gang. The interviews aren't over until you have what you need. You refuse to let them be over. You spend every last second you have to do the best job you can. That's what being a professional journalist is all about. Minorikawa cracked his knuckles and stepped between the 2 young men. Sounds like you've got an interesting story. Mind letting me hear it too? Oh, that is way too good. We're dropping off. We're just dropping off people. End of his story. Man. Yo, that's fantastic. I can hardly wait to see where this goes. Now, I can't select Achi from the character selection screen, but we can jump to him, so now we can start as Achi, kind of. This is freaking amazing. What a story! I can hardly wait to see where this goes. But for now, I'm going to have to call the stream, so thank you very much for joining, and have a wonderful night.